Hi guys, my name is Beth and welcome to Beth Does Beauty. Today I'm going to be talking about lupus and my experiences with the disease. I have my laptop here so that if there is any information that I don't know about factually, I'm not getting anything wrong that way because I'll be using the reputable sources such as Lupus UK and lupus.org just to fact check myself to make sure that I'm not spreading any misinformation. So before I get too into telling you about my story and my journey with lupus, I think it's best that we start off with addressing what lupus actually is. Basically, in short, and this is the only way I can think of describing it in my terms, the immune system has gone into some form of meltdown. Something's gone wrong. And your body has started fighting healthy tissue, such as your joints, your organs, rather than just focusing on fighting illnesses, so bad bacteria that comes into your body. So your immune system is overworking. It's not doing what it should be. And I think that's the best way to describe it. So according to the website, there are 4 different forms of lupus. Systemic lupus, which is the form of lupus that I was diagnosed with. Systemic lupus accounts for approximately 70% of all cases of lupus. In approximately half of these cases, a major organ or tissue in the body, such as the heart, lungs, kidney, or brain, will be affected. Cutaneous lupus, which affects the skin only. Drug-induced lupus, which is number 3, that accounts for 10% of all lupus cases and is caused by high doses of certain medications. And the 4th one is neonatal lupus. Neonatal lupus is a rare condition in which the mother's antibodies affect the fetus. Luckily, I have been very fortunate to escape any organ failure. However, underneath all my makeup, I have a lot of skin damage caused by lupus. Once upon a time, I thought that was acne. Turns out that it is not, and that it is butterfly rash, which is the mala rash, I think they call it, that goes across the bridge of the nose and above the cheeks in like this kind of formation. A big question that I get asked is lupus deadly? And the answer is it can be. It is very unlikely that you will die of lupus in this day and age. Can people die of lupus? It is believed that between 10 and 15% of people with lupus will die prematurely due to complications of lupus. However, due to improved diagnosis and disease management, most people with the disease will go on to live a normal lifespan. I was 18 when I was diagnosed, but believe me, the diagnosis was not as liberating as I thought it was going to be. Pre-diagnosis, I had no idea what lupus was and the trials and tribulations that I was coming up to. Initially, I was going through a very stressful time in life. I was on summer break from school. I was waiting for my A-level exam results. I was waiting to see if I was accepted into universities. My grandma was incredibly unwell. My parents had gone on holiday with my brother for the first time, so I was on my own in the house for the very first time. I was newly turned 18, still learning about life, and all these things were happening to me at once. So all of those things were going on, and I started breaking out in what looked like hives, and they were just little red dots, and they would always start on my left wrist. Always, without fail. I would get little pinpricks all the way down my arm, and it would start to spread. And it would spread so much that it was all over my hips, my thighs, everywhere imaginable. Across my face, I would get the butterfly rash, which I obviously didn't know was the butterfly rash. And it would be so insanely itchy and it would burn. It was the worst feeling in the world. So I'd get out of bed in the morning, I'd feel fine, and about 3 hours after being awake, I would start off with this rash. About an hour into this rash, I would be covered like I just said. And then the joint pain would happen. And it was almost like I could predict where I was going to hurt. I would get the rash along my arm, it would start to spread, my fingers would swell, my wrists would swell, my elbows hurt, they ached, I couldn't move. It got to the point that even going to the bathroom was a task. I couldn't sit down on anything because my knees were so inflamed and swollen, and I didn't know what was going on. And I thought that maybe I was just having a very heavy allergic reaction to like dish soap or laundry detergent. I remember messaging my mum while she was away on holiday saying, have you left some money so that I can try getting some hypoallergenic laundry detergent, because I was so worried that I was having some bad allergy. 2 months later, I'm still having these symptoms. I'm still really unwell. It's not like the flu like I thought maybe it was. I went to the doctor. The doctor diagnosed me with psoriasis. So, you know, I'm like, okay, cool. It seems to match psoriasis. So I'm Googling away, you know, yeah, okay, the rash kind of looks a bit like psoriasis. I'm given steroid cream. Now, steroid cream does stop the itchiness of the rash, but the rash was still very prevalent, and my body was in constant pain. But now I'm getting like stomach pain, like severe internal pain, and that was scary. So a week later, after the psoriasis diagnosis, I'm back at the doctor, and I'm saying, you really need to help me here because I'm starting to get scared. The response that I got from my doctor when I am in incredible amounts of pain and very, very, very scared, the response that I got was, it's all in your head. If I hadn't further down the line sought diagnosis and done my own research into what lupus was, and if I hadn't pushed for further evaluation of my symptoms, I could be dead. My organs could have failed and I could be dead, because I could have listened to a doctor that knew nothing about what she was talking about. She told me my symptoms were all in my head. Just like that, dismissed me. And this isn't to disparage doctors, because I think you are overworked and underpaid for the time and the efforts that you put in. But do your research, because just because you couldn't see my illness on the inside does not mean to say that I am not worthy of you investigating further. 78% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 35 do not know what this disease is. Some of them, I imagine, are qualified doctors. We need to do better. We need to wise people up on this disease. It is very frustrating. Despite being told that this was all in my head, it was not. I went to university. I was still very much struggling with a lot of pain. I was seen by a different doctor in a different city, and they were immediately concerned. They referred me instantly to a rheumatologist who is a specialist doctor that deals with autoimmune diseases such as arthritis and lupus. From the documentation that they had of personal experiences and seeing the swelling firsthand in the photos and the diary, my rheumatologist was able to diagnose me with lupus. So I was immediately put on medication, and my journey began of trying to learn to live with lupus. I have been hospitalized 3 times with various ailments because of lupus. Yeah, that's basically my lupus story. Having a chronic illness can be really mentally exhausting, and if you feel like you need help, please reach out to someone. Samaritans, a local lupus charity, chronic illness charities, disability charities, anything like that that is a support system for you. Even going to see a therapist once in a while or a counsellor has been my saving grace. I will openly admit that. Going to see a counsellor was one of the best things that I ever did, because I got to vent at someone that, while they didn't understand, they could help build me up. I have had to learn a lot from having a debilitating illness. I have learned to be more patient, which my friends may not agree with me, because I'm not the most patient person in the world. But I had to learn an aspect of patience over arrogance, in a sense. There's also a level of empathy that I have, and I play devil's advocate a lot about the understanding around people having invisible illnesses and things that we can't see that go on in life. Because we're all very quick to judge. Again, me included. I am by no means saying that I am perfect, because believe me, I am so far from. My biggest challenge with having lupus was probably learning to rely on other people. I am insanely independent. I like my own space. I like being alone, and I like to do things for myself. But having a chronic illness meant that a lot of the time I had to rely on other people. And I had to learn very quickly that if I wanted to survive having a chronic illness, that I needed to surround myself with people that loved me, people that cared for me, and it meant that I had to build up a very positive friendship group. Let me know what you thought, honestly. Talk about lupus. Let's have a discussion in the comments section, because I think talking is important. If you'd like to reach out to me, the best place to do that is on my social media sites that I will leave down below in the description box. I'll also, in the description box, put any of the links that I have referenced today, such as the Lupus Foundation of America site. I'll also list a number of the lupus charities that I have reached out to in the past for any information. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.